Welcome back to Life's Chillent. My name is Avital, and this week's Parshat is Parshat Vayechi. This Parsha really covers the end of Jacob's life. Jacob, at the beginning of the Parsha, he realizes that his time on earth is coming to an end, and he calls on all of his children so that he can bestow blessings upon them. When Joseph hears this, he brings his sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, with him to see his father, to see Jacob. Jacob tells Joseph that he is going to give to Manasseh and to Ephraim. He's going to provide them with an inheritance as if they were his own sons. He's going to sort of include them in the count of his sons. And not just that, but he's going to bestow blessings upon Ephraim and upon Manasseh. And at this point in time, Jacob is blind. He can't see any longer. And so Joseph helps bring his sons to Jacob in order so that they will be blessed. And what was traditional is that the eldest son would be placed under the right hand, and the younger son would be placed under the left hand for blessings. Sort of the right side being the dominant side would go to the one who was firstborn. And in this case, the firstborn is Manasseh. And so he was placed under Jacob's right hand, and Ephraim, the younger son, was placed under Jacob's left hand. That's how Joseph left them. And again, Jacob is blind. He can't see. But when he realizes this, he switches his hands to bless them. He switches his hands like this. And Joseph sees that his father has switched his hands, and here's what he says to his father. He says, "Not so, father, for this is the firstborn. Place your right hand on his head." So Joseph is saying, what are you doing? This is not the right way to do it. It's like this, because eldest and youngest, not eldest and youngest. To this, Jacob replied, "I know, my son, I know he too will become a people, and he too will become great. Yet the younger brother shall become greater than he, and his offspring's fame will fill the nations." And then Jacob continues by saying, "By you shall Israel bless, saying, May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh." And he put Ephraim before Manasseh. So Jacob here, he put the younger son, he gave the younger son sort of the firstborn blessing. He gave him the greater blessing, whereas traditionally the eldest son should be the one to receive it. But here he saw that the younger son is going to become greater than the older son, and therefore he is the one who merits that blessing. Now, when I was reading this, I thought, this reminds me of something. It reminds me of in Parshat Toldot, when Rebekah is pregnant with Esau and with Jacob, and God tells Rebekah that the elder, Esau, shall serve the younger, Jacob. And it's very interesting because that prophecy led to this entire sort of saga in Parshat Toldot, where Jacob has to fight to receive the blessing of the firstborn from his father, even though he is the younger son. And Jacob, as you might recall from a few weeks ago, he dresses up in disguise. He dresses up to be hairy like his brother. He brings the delicacies that his father asked Esau to prepare. He really ends up tricking his father into giving him the blessing of the firstborn, because he was supposed to be the one that was greater. He was supposed to be the one who was being served by his brother. He was going to be the greater of the two nations. But Jacob had to look at all the things he had to go through to get that blessing. It didn't come easy. His father didn't recognize his sort of elevated status. His father didn't just automatically bestow this blessing upon him. He had to go through this sort of trickery route. He had to go through this not so perfect route in order to obtain the blessing. And yet here, in this story, Jacob is the one in charge of giving the blessing this time. And in this time, he's the one who initiates the switch. He's the one who crosses his hands to give the younger one the blessing of the older son. The younger son here didn't have to go through any hoops. He didn't have to make any effort to receive that blessing. Jacob was able to recognize his greatness, and Jacob was able to give him that blessing even though he was the younger son. And I thought that was such an interesting thing that, Jacob had to fight for something so hard when he was in the position to receive the blessing, and now when he's in the position of giving the blessings, he is giving them in a way that he probably would have appreciated to have had it done for him. He probably would have loved it if his father would have just given him the blessing rather than him having to fight for it. And so what I'm seeing and what we can learn from Jacob is that we have the ability to make a change, to make life easier for future generations. Whatever hardships we are enduring, whatever our fights are and our battles are, we're in the position to make it so that our children and our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, our descendants, don't have to fight in the same way. They don't have to be in the same positions. Whatever we have to overcome right now, whatever ways in which we are leading our communities forward, in which we are creating this positive change, it's going to make an impact in the future generations, and hopes that they don't have to sort of suffer in the way that we have suffered or in the way that our ancestors have suffered. Whatever our ancestors have suffered has led to our liberties and to our freedoms. And it's the same thing. We have the power to propel that change forward, just like Jacob did, just like Jacob had to endure this struggle of fighting for the blessing of the firstborn, and then made it possible so that future generations don't have to fight for that blessing. And so I hope we can all learn from Jacob and the amazing way in which he instigated change. And I hope you all have a wonderful week and a Shabbat Shalom.